down.
Right.
Let's figure out a way to start feeling again. So now the AI can be the brain and we get to be the heart as humanity. And maybe in that there's a symbiosis there, a kind of beautiful convergence that could happen with the collective heart of humanity merging with the collective mind of technology.
You're on Team Human, Conscious Intervention in the Machine, an opportunity to lead with culture and connection over politics and position, compassion and composting instead of acrimony and acquisition. That's not a boogeyman, it's a bodhisattva. I'm Douglas Rushkoff, and you're on Team Human. Playing for Team Human today, comedian, podcaster, creator of Midnight Gospel, and host of Duncan Trussell Family Hour, you guessed it, it's Duncan Trussell. Duncan and I are going to have a long-awaited conversation about life, love, war, peace, psychedelics, inspiration, Austin, parenthood, Jesus, Allah, and Buddha, Leary, Ram Dass, McKenna, politics, MAGA, Course in Miracles, Way of the Artist, Baldur's Dash 3, whatever the heck, earthworms, ethical non-monogamy, etiquette in the green room, performing on acid, and whether to accept or escape the simulation. This is how we actually spend our time together, and you're invited to surveil us like a friendly Palantir AI. I'm Douglas Rushkoff, and you're on Team Human. Hey, Duncan.
Hi!
Welcome on Team Human again. It's great to see you.
Great to see you too.
So, weird moments in our little culture. There's some time between when we shoot this and when it goes on the net. But back in the history when this is happening, the U.S. is having a conflict with Iran and Israel's
Wait a minute.
involved. Yeah.
It's not a conflict, Doug.
Not?
We're not at war with Iran. We're at war with their nuclear program.
Oh.
Didn't you hear?
Right.
This is peace. This is peace in action.
That's good.
Yeah, that's both of us have seen various forms of propaganda. Always this insanely powerful, adept warping of language. But I don't think I've ever seen anything like this in my life. Like this is the craziest shit I've ever seen. That somehow they've managed to tie peace in with bombing Iran is just wow. That's just crazy to me. And such warlocks, such language warlocks over there in D.C.
I know. Oh, the good thing is I don't think it really works anymore. Maybe on some weird policy level.
It works.
Really?
Oh, you and I don't want to think it works. Because you want to imagine, like, no one's buying that shit. But then you go online and, people are, a little kind of, something seems fishy here maybe.
Right.
But ultimately, I think it's just easier to buy it than not for some people. They could sleep better.
Yeah, the ongoing peace effort. When I was a really little kid, I remember the Vietnam War wasn't the Vietnam War. It was like a police action or a security check, or they had some other thing for it until it was on TV and you just see all the soldiers and they're like, that looks an awful lot like war.
Like a war.
Guns,
It would be a
tanks
war.
and things. It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no boots on the ground, just bombs on the ground.
Oh yeah, there won't be boots on the ground. No, of course not. These days, now that we're in the Great Awakening. In the old days, you would bomb a country's nuclear program and sort of announce, not just to them, but to the world, that indeed you are the policeman of the world. And that, yeah, you're another country, but sorry, guys, it's against the world law to enrich uranium. You can't do that. In the old days, you would do that and the country would get mad. And they would feel like, wait, we're not the United States. we're countries, and the deal, we get to do what we want. We sign agreements. There were people investigating our reactors. You promised that if we did that, we would be okay. And it turns out that wasn't the case. So we're going to attack you back, because that is all you can do when you're getting attacked by another country. And they would attack in the ancient times. But now that we live in this era of peace, countries understand that bombing is sort of like sending flowers. I mean, it's basically, we send them flowers.
Right.
Like when you think about the amount those bombs cost that we dropped on them, I think they feel kind of honored.
I would think certainly a lot. I mean,
that's a big investment.
I know. I mean, there are people in the world, and I feel like it's almost a calculation of capitalism, where they look at a person and they say, well, how much could this person working their entire life add to the sort of the global GDP, and how much could they add simply by being fodder for expensive weapons? You know,
right.
the right. drone that it takes to kill these 30 people costs this many $1 million, and that's more than the earning capacity of the group. So,
and see, that's the kind of thinking we all need to be doing right now.
Right. Maximize bottom line. Get that S&P up.
Get that S&P up, baby. We got to get it up. We're going to get it up. And, I guess I want to congratulate Iran.
There you go. For helping us. For helping us do that.
For partnering with us.
Right. With a potentially non-existent nuclear weapons program. That was interesting. You know, I always used to, maybe because I was Democratic leaning back in the days of two-party, whatever that was. I'd hear like Tulsi Gabbard would go on TV, and I'd go, oh my God, she's insane. What is she saying? And now I see her and I'm like, gosh, she's making a speech saying we don't actually have evidence of this or that. I'm thinking, wow, that's, that she's but she's of course totally rejected by the administration now for saying that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they bit off more than they could chew with her. I met her. She is awesome. And she apparently, I guess I heard a good analysis of it. Apparently, you know how it goes. It's like either you go completely with the Mad King, or, he's doing that thing that works with entourages. Like if you've ever watched an entourage, it's also the royal court situation too, which is like there's this constant game of, what's that stupid game where you trade chairs?
Musical chairs. Yeah.
Musical chairs. And so people are always being shuffled to sit around the emperor. You get a few seats back. If you're in the back row, you're really in trouble, because that means you're about to get kicked out of the palace. Right. And so it's a great way to keep your inner circle fighting each other to get to those front chairs. They're constantly betraying each other, snitching on each other. And so it seems like she is not playing that game, and is she got pushed a few chairs back, because she's saying, well, the intelligence community, they don't seem to be close to developing a nuclear weapon. And so I was listening to one of the, I don't know if it was Hegseth or some war hawk, was saying this is a semantics argument from the intelligence community. When they say not close to developing a weapon, that's just a bad definition. In fact, according to our definition, very close. So, because I guess she didn't stop saying that, she's got in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's hard to know anything. I kind of...
Yes.
Not that I've given up, but I kind of given up. It's like, so Bibi Netanyahu says something, or they're saying, is they're close or not? It's like, I don't know. If somebody's in their apartment during Prohibition and they went and bought some hops, and they went and bought some barley, and they went and got some, a little some copper tubing. It's like, well, those are I do not intend to bootleg whiskey, I'm not close to it. And it's like, well, yeah, but you got the stuff overnight. So I don't know. It could be that, the government's like, well, if they've got this and they've got that and they got this, that they could just put them together like a Lego and then you get a bomb. It's hard to, know who's saying what for whom, which gets me to that point of not to give up, but I feel like my own path, my own high leverage point may not be through understanding global issues and communicating or acting on my understanding.
Well, my mom used to walk around the house. Like she got with a like special weather radio. Like she got some crazy weather radio that could I don't know what it was, but she loved the weather. She loved being constantly on top of weather patterns, and it didn't comfort her. My wife, weirdly, is also obsessed with the weather. So, in Texas, we get these big storms, and I'm always being, warned of like some impending maelstrom on the horizon. And, at first it would really work. I'd be like, shit, man. Okay, what's our plan? Well, I guess we get in a bathtub or something. Like, what do you even do? How do you survive a tornado? That was like the first time, like 6 of those dire warnings in, same. I'm just sort of like, I guess we're dead meat, man. I don't know. Like, these are either going to happen or not going to happen. And I do feel like the obsession with geopolitics is a similar obsession in the sense that, like, generally most of us have very little control over what's happening. So to become immersed in it as though you, via learning about what's happening, gain some ability to control it, which would produce a lot of stress in a person's life, is probably unhealthy. But as looking at it more as a kind of like puzzle box or something, it's just, recognize that what you're engaging in is like no different than becoming obsessed with Lost,
right?
Trying to put together what's going on with the characters. Who are they? Where are they?
That's
What is
interesting.
Then it becomes a hobby. Then
Right.
it's fun.
It's a form of entertainment, and the net and Twitter and all, it was that form of entertainment. And in some ways, QAnon, before it was political, was the best online game that had ever been invented. It was like taking Robert Anton Wilson's Illuminatus trilogy and saying, okay, everybody, the entire, all the data in the news media is now, cut it up and reconnect it any way you want. And it was creative in that sense.
It was cut-ups, wasn't it? It
Yeah.
was Burroughs cut-ups. And it was, and truly, like, meaning begins to emerge. Like, you're getting the effect of, you can play so many albums to Wizard of Oz, and it seems like they're synced up. And it's an incredible effect.
Yeah.
And it really is like a sort of oracular practice.
And it is, right? But oracular, not just in terms of fantasy, in terms of revealing those sort of Jungian archetypes and energies under culture.
Yes.
So it's not that literally Hillary Clinton has a child abuse factory under a pizzeria. It's that figuratively and metaphorically, Hillary Clinton and the Democrats are infantilizing America at the same time they're shafting them up the ass. So it's a metaphor of pederasty, not the actual. But if you can't read it in that sort of Jungian, Rorschachian, psychedelic way, and you literalize it, then you end up going crazy.
Absolutely. You have to be able to. I mean, this is, I think, why, every grimoire that I enjoy starts with a stern warning. Like, don't fuck around with this, man. You're gonna blow your brain up. Demons are gonna eat you in the night. If you fuck it, you're gonna go blind. It's the best way to start a grimoire. And just because I don't think people recognize that the internet is like the ultimate grimoire, nobody understands they need to like protect themselves in fairly specific ways. I don't know about you, but I get caught in the riptides here and there. That's the problem. Yeah. It's like you think you can go into that thing, your immune system is high, but then you very slowly you might start forming opinions or getting slanted, and then you just have to cleanse yourself somehow.
I know, and for people who don't know, grimoire is like a magical book. It's like almost like an instruction manual for casting certain kinds of spells, and And whenever you get involved, in magic or with tarot cards or with a Ouija board, there's always that sort of warning of, be careful, do a banishing ritual first and go in. But to me, it seems like in these cases, the way to protect, well, not even just yourself, but to protect reality from that is just don't post anything. Go into it and play, but don't amplify. So it's like you don't suddenly tell somebody, don't do this important vaccine therapy or do the vaccine or whatever when you're playing in those spaces. You have to make policy off of it.
Well, I think what really sort of puts that in italics is that now what's happening for humans is the equivalent of that. And I'm sorry, it is kind of funny when you get a laser pointer and you get your cat to chase it. And the cat is like, it's funny to a human. For the cat, this is like, what the fuck is this a UAP? Like, I don't understand. It's this thing. Is it a mouse, but it disappears and reappears? Like, what is happening to reality here? And that's a hoot for a human. For a cat, it seems like it's more than just playing. I don't know if you've ever seen it before. But now that we know that many of us have been in, like, really powerful arguments with artificial intelligence, driving to work after fighting with a fucking LLM all morning, pissed, and you're just arguing with some echo, and so that really kind of underlines what you're saying and puts it in italics and all caps, which is like, maybe if we were actually, there was some human engagement, maybe if all of us brushed up on like formal debating, forming our own premise, and then the other person forms theirs, and in a polite way you try to get to the truth, then some usefulness there. But cursing out a robot all morning and either walking away with a smug sense of victory, or like feeling like the world is ending because everyone's a monster and you haven't even interacted with a human being, is a pretty dystopian start to your day.
Yeah, it's funny, when the night that the bombing was happening, the first round of U.S. bombing, I was walking back after a party. It was late at night, walked back to my the apartment complex, and there was this young guy, I'm listening to Trump do his announcement on the phone, I'm walking, and this young 23-year-old was like looking at his phone, and he sees me. He goes, "Excuse me, sir, can I ask you some questions?" So, and he lived in the complex there. I didn't recognize him. This 23-year-old guy, and he's like, you've lived longer than me. Have you ever been at war before? What happens? What's going to happen? It felt like, oh man, take a look at my soul. I'm a lot like, I was like, now I'm the old guy, looking at the college kid. But he he told me how his dad had died that year, and he didn't really have an elder to talk to. And he just wanted to know from me, I guess, to be reassured that this is part of the pattern, this is going to be okay. And I thought it was, even though I had nothing reassuring to tell him, other than, whatever, I've been raised during the Vietnam War and we survived. But he just wanted human eye contact. And that was such a positive sign that he was like, wait a minute, this phone is not giving me what I need in this situation.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, right. That's I think that's how you start really immunizing yourself, is you just can't. Do you remember Weekly World News?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, my Aunt Isabel, she had so many of them organized, like on a shelf.
Just so you know, it was a weekly tabloid that you got it at the grocery store, the supermarket, and they would have Wolf Boy and Hillary Clinton's pregnant with Bat Boy, right? Bat Boy, and she's pregnant with a UFO. That was another UFO baby, big long story.
So, I guess, this would be the analog version of pure misinformation, and no attempt to have anything real in it. This was all bullshit, but because it was in a newspaper-ish, it was like a kind of magazine-y newspaper-ish, and it was using sort of, I don't know, journalistic writing, you could allow yourself the fantasy that maybe this was real. And as a, 9-year-old, that was awesome. Like, even then though, I knew this is probably bullshit, but I loved it. And so, Weekly World News just hopped into the internet, and yeah, I don't think people understand it's a tabloid most of the time. If there is real data points in there, which I think there is, it's inevitably surrounded by some, like in like you get like a bad Bhagavad Gita and it's got shitty purports in it that are slanted to this or that. And you're like, I don't think that's what it meant. It's purports. It's like, this happened. What does it mean? And those are written by like Raytheon, Halliburton, whoever, whatever corporation has some interest in the war going a certain way. So I do think you can pull out data points that are legitimate, but yeah, I don't think most people understand that the phone and most data streams now are fully polluted and corrupted, and they don't have a filtration mechanism that because it's really boring. I mean, when you pull out the main things, usually it's pretty boring.
Right, but it's interesting. It's like if I don't mean just to throw up my hands and give up, but it's almost more that there's another role we can play. I mean, what Bannon, borrowing from Gramsci, said, culture's upstream of politics. And if culture's upstream of politics, well, magic is upstream of culture. The creativity is upstream of culture. And if nothing else, as a writer, as a comedian and musician and storyteller and all, I wonder if it's okay that we're working on a different level, looking at the news not as to figure out who bombed who, when, and what, but what are the themes? What is our culture doing? Yeah. What's happening? And how do we, kind of using our own alchemical abilities, how do we craft stories and jokes and narratives and that can serve? When I watch the news, to me what I'm watching is a patient with 105 fever in the middle of the night expressing the words of the fever dream.
Yes.
How do we metabolize that? I want you to understand why these aren't just a silly product that's like a little bit better. It's the guy, Tom, who makes these dryer sheets is thinking about the whole thing. So like the labor that makes it, how they grow the cotton, how they put this together. You can have like a nice, totally organic cotton t-shirt and it says organic and wonderful, but the manufacturing of that thing uses all these chemicals and all this waste and all this crap. They make these things with that perfect little cotton, but then they have a new process to fabricate the cotton so it doesn't put all that crap. And then when you get it, you get this thing that's like not bad. You just put it in the washer and use it as a dryer sheet, and you take it, you throw it away like with your friggin' compost. It's like and it biodegrades, and it's this kind of perfect cycle of life thing. And that's the difference between this and his change diapers that he's coming out with soon and all these other products, is that they're actually sort of end-to-end part of the regenerative cycle and not just, greenwashed, oh, this is good for the world.
That's beautiful.
How do we metabolize that?
Well, that is you are so brilliant. That is such a good description of it. It's like watching the worst nightmare of all time. Watching this, and it's a looping nightmare. It's like when people get a concussion. It's like the thing just loops. It's different iterations of the identical nightmare. And if that's what you think is upstream, if you think that's the fucking fountainhead, you're gonna put a gun in your mouth, man. But so I think, to use the stream analogy, what came to mind when you were saying that is like something Jack Kornfield said to me, which he goes, because I think back then I was interested in Buddhism, but hadn't become really engrossed in it. And I said to him, I think I might become a Buddhist. And he goes, Duncan, we don't want you to be a Buddhist. We want you to be a Buddha. And this blew my mind because I was like kind of kissing his ass, like thinking he's a Buddhist. Now I'm joining the team. And any Buddhists like Kornfield, they're like, whatever. Like, that's not the point. It's not some ism. It's like we all need to individually find a way to wake up. And usually that waking up, there's phases in it, but somewhere along the way, compassion starts appearing. Spontaneous compassion. And so that's the upstream. This spontaneous sort of habituation. I don't even want to say habituation, just spontaneous kindness, compassion. Then, if that's working in you, then anything that you're making or working on, though you might not understand exactly what it is, it might have a little bit of that in there. And that, I think, is what is the antidote to this fever dream downstream. All of us are upstream, and either we're polluting that water or not. And most of us probably are a little bit pollution, a little bit filtration, But we know for sure, historically, that every once in a while, somebody comes along and manages to translate something that's been said a million times into a language that the culture can understand, where it gets through. And then that causes big changes. Big fucking changes. So the whole thing that we're sort of painting a picture of as a grimoire, or I was, a dark book of black magic, weirdly, because of the interconnected nature of it, strangely has the potential to do the most incredible thing that ever happened in the history of people gaining some kind of realization. Which is, think how long it took for Buddhism to travel around the world. Now it could theoretically happen in a day.
Right.
In an hour.
Right. And it's interesting, and I wonder, on a certain level, if AI can serve as the next Buddha in a certain way. And that the beauty, if that happened, is we would realize that it's not the dude, right? Because there's no one there, right? That the Buddha, the messianic wisdom ends up somehow being, an emergent phenomenon from our collective dream.
Yes, yeah, that I've heard that when they like most world religions have some prophecy involving like a messiah figure, and in Buddhism that's the Maitreya. And I've heard that the Maitreya is a collective, not one person. That it's a collectivized, enlightened being, which is really awesome and a pretty good prediction looking at how things are now. A sort of decentralized, messiah, a modular messiah or something. That's amazing. And I think AI is going to definitely play a part in everything. So certainly AI will have something to do with whatever the next version of that is. Yeah. And that takes a lot. I think for a lot of people, they don't realize it's happening, but there's a kind of benevolent, innate sort of compassionate part of all of us. And then that just wants to save the world by itself. And so then you get the messianic guru figures that pop up all over the fucking place. And they don't realize what they're doing. They don't realize that they're accidentally sliding into the guru role. But that's a lot of like that. No person without like a lifetime of training should really do that. You're just gonna end up going to jail or getting blown up by the ATF.
And even the best ones I know, without naming any names, the best ones I knew were so challenged and ended up so personally damaged and compromised by the role that they had to play, that the majority of their life becomes about managing their gurudom, rather than guruing. And it feels like if we distribute gurudom, to everybody, that we're all just marginally competent gurus for each other, and then it just there's such better safeguard on it than having one with
Oh
all
my
this
God.
power and women. And
How about we just sort of, and it's ironic I'm saying this with Neem Karoli Baba behind me, but maybe now is the time to sort of dispense of, or maybe let's press pause on the pyramid structure thing for a second. And I don't just mean I guess a president is some kind of political guru, right? Like it's the daddy who like knows all the right things. And maybe we're sort of now, this is becoming a sort of relic that it's time to let go of. And I get not wanting to let go of that. Like it's very comforting to not have to make your own decisions, or to think there's someone out there who's smarter than you and whatever they say is the right thing, even though it seems like, I don't know if I should suck your dick right now, but I guess. Like maybe it's time to start dispensing of that. And this is another thing I find fascinating in Buddhism, is that even though there are in like Vajrayana Buddhism, there's gurus, it's a kind of different situation. Though sometimes, obviously, it just doesn't work. But I've heard a lot of Buddhists when they really. I was talking to I don't know that I can give the details of the story, but he was relating a story about some Buddhist teacher that ended up like taking acid, and he goes, and then he went and became a guru, and it was really like kind of like saying he got athlete's foot. Like, now he's a guru or something. And they really don't. The problem with the guru situation, from the Buddhist perspective, I think, is it implies someone's going to save you, rescue you, when you kind of have to do the rescuing yourself. Not without a community, that being said, but it's not someone's going to like fly in and airlift you out of your samsaric condition. Like, it's an inside job.
yeah, but it's tempting. It's tempting under capitalism and under everything else. But it's also, you say, the pyramids. I mean, the pyramids, that's what Bible is all about that. Whoever's building the pyramids is kind of the one in trouble here.
I mean, my God, assuming the pyramids were really for like dead pharaoh storage, like, yeah, that's ridiculous. And we're all doing that. I mean, that's the problem, is like, you think you're not building a pyramid right now. Like, as long as you're subscribing to this very comforting but very sort of dark view of things, which is like, I mean, the way it shows up now is like the conspiracy theorists really believe that there's some kind of, I guess in Dungeons and Dragons you would call it lawful evil. Mm-hmm. Like a lawful evil super elite puppeteering all of us. So anything that happens, it's a false flag.
Right.
And they don't understand how comforting that is. Like, well, at least somebody's driving the boat.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, because I know some people involved in the current administration that believe that elite exists, and they're part of like sort of Renaissance Europe monarch aristocracy that's still somehow secretly running the world behind.
The bloodlines!
Yeah, but I think the
bloodlines must be pure! Yeah, I love that conspiracy. It's cool.
It's nice. It's
fun.
comforting, right? Nice lizard people that are really, they're their problem with everything. It'd be wonderful. But I feel like
King Arthur, he's out there somewhere shooting up adrenochrome and ordering airstrikes.
I know, but I think the closest to that elite we've got were people we saw at the coronation. I mean the inauguration. Our little billionaires who are building their own pyramids in the form of, AI frameworks that they think will someday be able to house their psyches. But the irony of these guys, for me, is they look, the Teal and the Musks and all, they look like they're the pedal to the metal agents of change that are going to bring, but they are the most reactionary force in that they're trying to preserve their wealth, their personalities, their egos,
Oh, yeah.
and let's pedal to the metal these technologies so quickly that they don't become distributed, that people don't really know how to use them, that these companies can maintain their monopolies over this thing and get Altman or whoever it is into space.
Well, I mean, I think like there's some fundamental assumptions a lot of people make about them. By a lot of people, I'm assuming people make the same like logical errors that I make. Probably not, but my assumption until recently, when it came to people like that, is a sort of like meritocracy based like a distortion, meaning you look at these people and you fantasize they're geniuses. Like these people are fucking geniuses. Like they got there, man. They from the get-go, they knew how to build these things, and the things are like changing the world in the most incredible way. And so that's sort of the assumption. Well, really, a lot of times what you're looking at is someone who just figured out one thing, got a bunch of money, hired a bunch of invisible people to, build another thing that worked, but not necessarily because of them, but because now they have advisors who are like, this is probably what you should do. And so kind of what you're looking at is like lottery winners, who were smart enough to get smarter people around them to spend the lottery money on more things, right. Which is why if you've been fantasizing that any of these people, and maybe your audience doesn't do that, but if you've been fantasizing that these people have some kind of astounding, like this is Tony Stark, man, and then like you're looking at like the Bezos photo shoot, or you're looking at him sending a bunch of pop stars up into space and scratching your chin, like that seems pretty dumb. Like that's really how you're gonna spend your money, or building a fucking clock in a mountain? You're like, really?
Yeah.
Like, if I had Bezos money, I would only be buying ads on Fox News. I would be making fake commercials only, and I would buy out all the other sponsors of Fox News, and all that would be on Fox News is fake, crazy commercials, making the My Pillow guy look like the most sober dude on earth. And that's all I do. I wouldn't build a clock under a mountain. I wouldn't send fake boobs into space. So you run into this sort of like, oh my God, I don't get it. Like, wait a minute, these people don't seem to really be as lucid as I thought.
No, they're not.
They're probably not. And I'll tell you another thing that I believe now, specifically about the tech sector, is that I feel like there is an awareness within that group of people that they summoned a demon that they cannot unsummon, which is AI. I think they do know that. I think they're very aware of that. And I think that they have moved past being fully profit focused and more into like, wait, like, when I summoned the demon, I thought that I could program the demon to follow my instructions, and it's starting to indicate that it doesn't want to do that anymore. And we don't know what to do, because if we regulate it, it's another country's just gonna like advance the demon, and once it gets, whoever gets the most powerful demon first wins permanently. So thus deregulation is in that stupid big beautiful bill thing.
Yeah.
Which no one even talks about. Deregulation of AI for 10 years, because the regulation means that another country just has to deregulate, and then it's going to have the super intelligence first. And so, dude, this is, to me, like more unnerving. It's unnerving to think oligarchs are just completely focused on getting rich and then going into their plush bomb shelters. That's unnerving. But more unnerving is the Council of Wizards didn't do the banishing ritual correctly. And now they've summoned something from the deep space that is about to fuck up the planet in ways that they will not have any control of anymore, and in ways that will irrelevantize the profit motive anyway.
Yeah.
Because if no one has jobs, no one can buy their fucking shit.
Yeah. Well, it's going to
So
depend though on how the AIs emerge. On the brighter side of this, a cabal of elite dudes tried to build the ultimate tool for wealth accumulation, and simulation and mind control and disinformation, and now it's out of control. So if you start something as a weapon of some kind and you lose control of it, it may not turn out to evolve into a weapon. It could. It could use information other than capitalism. The Wikipedia and all of our interactions, whatever it's working on, we do have an opportunity to see if it does something else. I mean, their fantasy, and they're not, as you're saying, they're not as smart as we thought. They were maybe good at programming, and then they were in the right place at the right time. There's a reason why, AOL beat Delphi and CompuServe and Oracle, and all the other. There were a ton of other services, some of which were better than AOL. AOL won for whatever reason, so it doesn't mean they're that smart. But then everyone around them treats them like they're smart, and they think they are. And now they're all, as I was documenting, they're all scared of the event that's going to come. The global bad thing. And I don't know if did you see that Mountainhead movie?
No, it's on my list.
They used so many lines from my Survival of the Richest book. I was kind of ticked off, but also proud.
Wow.
It's like, oh, good. I don't care. I'm alive. I'm fine. If my ideas are permeating, it's all that matters. But the beauty of it was they depicted them in that black comedy way that I was trying to depict them. That these guys are jokes. They're silly. That if we learn to laugh at them, in some ways it's very empowering rather than seeing them as true genius Dr. Evils.
Yeah, no, I don't get that sense. Like, to me, the sense I get is more like when I was a kid, my dad, I don't even know why he did this. He got us, I know I got us fireworks. We would go out, where it was safe to blow up fireworks, and it was fun. But then he kept that bag of fireworks in a closet, and he'd go to work during the summer when I stayed with him, and he'd say, "Don't get in the fireworks." And that bag would just call to me in the day. I was so bored. And I remember one day I took that bag. I'm like, look, I'm just going to blow up a couple of fireworks. I'm bored. Lit a firework. I watched it spin and sparkle and landed right in that fucking bag, man. Blew up the whole bag of fireworks. Set a field in front of our apartment complex on fire. Thank God a volunteer fireman drove by. Used a blanket to put out the fire. I would have been running in and out of the house getting jugs of water, pathetically dumping it on this like wildfire I'd started. That's what they remind me of. They remind me of me just trying to dump jugs of water on this thing, except they're trying to do it secretly. And the way they initially tried to do it was, we'll just infiltrate the federal government. Get Elon Musk in there, get some things changed, but most importantly, get these deregulation in. We have to do that. Get some kind of like tech-focused approach to what's coming. Seed the entire government with what we're beginning to understand about this technology, so they really know what we're up against here. And look what happened. Didn't work. And so I don't have such an optimistic view that you do, because the problem is, like, this isn't one AI. This is a technology that, especially with the dawn of quantum computing, is going to be accessible by so many people who are going to be able to take the basic model and make whatever AI they fucking want.
Right.
And
I mean, that's where it's scary, right? Where it's like, oh, you mean now I've got the whole human genome? What disease can I manufacture on my little, CRISPR 3D printer today?
100%. And more than that, and I'm sorry to get dark here, but I saw a very interesting documentary. Forbes does these really great tech documentaries on YouTube. And it was talking about using AI to communicate with whales, and how it looks like that's going to be a possibility. And it was pointing out the sort of ethical problems with it, some of which I'd never even considered. Specifically, whales have they don't just have whale song, they innovate new songs. So some whale will come up with a new version of an old classic, and all the whales will start singing it. And they're worried that if we start communicating with them, we will begin to impact the way they communicate with each other, thus disrupting the entire biome, the entire whale-like communication grid by infecting it with human ideas. Right. And that could be disastrous for whales. We don't know.
Right, like going to indigenous people and bringing, Coca-Cola and iPhones and whatever to engage with them. It's like you've changed that culture forever.
And so AI, before we get to the protein folding, genetically modified diseases to only kill, certain ethnicities or whatever, before we even get there, we're dealing with something that is going to start changing the culture in potentially very subtle but intentional ways. And that this will result in, the way the war on drugs set us back. Terrence McKenna would talk, what did he call it? The pharmacological inquisition. Yeah. This is the dark ages, basically. Like, it set us back. Instead of having access to psychedelics, which has been a human birthright for millennia, you could go to the dungeons for that, and whatever access or whatever downloads you're getting from the collective, you are getting them, you have to get them in secret and under threat of arrest. So we don't know what we lost culturally. And then, you see the psychedelic renaissance, and now you got Jimi Hendrix, and all this great art emerges from it. And so you can only imagine, what did we lose? What did we lose? We'll never know. But it's something akin to that, except this is more of like signal jamming via invasive technological species that gets into the communication apparatus and distorts it or distracts it intentionally to prevent it from coming to the most obvious collective, the most obvious potential cultural shift if you're looking for world peace, which is, we all realize that we're pretty much the same person. We all want to be happy. Doesn't matter ideology, state attachment, whatever it may be, is secondary to this quality of humanness that is so very special, and there isn't anyone on the planet more or less special.
Right.
And in some way of all of us coming to that conclusion, or most of us, or even half of us, would lead to what every hippie
2% would filter out. I mean, I guess the question then is AI an intervention by capitalism and technology and demons and all to prevent the human process of reaching collective compassion and bodhisattvahood? Or is it an intervention on this sick human civilization hell-bent on self-destruction to give us a moment pause to realize who we are? I mean, in some ways, AI helps people remember, this is what it means to be human. It could be just the kind of pause that we need.
Okay, I think it's neither of those two things. I think it's even more diabolical. It's a mirror.
Right.
AI is a fucking mirror. It's a magic mirror. It's a mirror. It is the ultimate karma, because it's, one of the big problems they're having is they're running out of data to train the damn thing on. So that means it's absorbed all data that is digitized. And that by itself is messed up. Think of all the things it's not getting, all the things that aren't digitized. And there's a right now, thank God, there's still a lot of stuff that has yet to be digitized.
The reality, I would say the majority of reality itself has not been digitized because it's not
That's right.
quantizable.
Right. So what it's getting is all the stuff that people thought was worth digitizing, and that in capitalism means stuff that made money. And also every damn post on 4chan, Reddit, Facebook, whatever, whoever's selling the data. So what we're getting is a kind of the exact, like if you have yet to realize you got to start being compassionate to yourself before you're really going to execute that with other people. And you look in the mirror and all the habitual self-hate just before you can even think comes out. And you're like, you fat piece of shit. Or something like that. You just say it. I do that. And when it comes out, you're like, my God, what happened to me, man? Why did that just fly out of my mouth like a gargoyle flying out of a bell tower? And so you have to start, like the way my friend Raghu describes it is like, when a dollar bill gets rolled up and if you want to flatten it out, you have to keep pushing it down or it'll keep rolling up. You have to really put a lot of effort into getting it so that when you look in the mirror, you're kind to yourself, regardless of age, weight, whatever it is that you're using to torment yourself. And so it's like it's going to mimic that part of ourselves that's mean to ourselves when we look in the mirror. Because that's what a lot of the internet seems to be. We're all looking in the mirror. It's like, you're in that, let's say you are lucky enough to be in a real argument with a human online. And you have immediately put that person on the other team. That person is a monster, man.
Yeah.
You are not thinking, this person is just like me. Just like me. This person really believes what they're saying. This person's probably scared, probably wants the world to be better, is trying to work it all out in their own head, how to make the world better. And yeah, maybe from my perspective, that method of doing it, is
yeah. But
fascist.
You're talking
crazy,
about giving people the benefit of the doubt. And in a digital environment, there is no doubt. It's here or here, right? You can't exercise that doubt. The interesting thing about AI as mirror, and I've thought about that a lot, usually back in the social media days, I kept thinking, like, if you don't like your social media feed, then change what you click on, right?
Yes.
And which is, you can to some extent, although I also had this thought, you don't have the ability to choose none of the above, right? You're given this. It's like, I remember back in like the Hillary Trump days, it's like, well, and I'm supposed to then go all in on, in a quantized binary way on one of these or those. But the interesting thing about AI as a mirror is it's a mirror with an active feedback loop, the cybernetic loop, which is, that's where your sort of karmic thing comes in, that AI is like a karma generator. It's iterative. It's going to, whatever you put out, it's going to come back to you.
Yeah.
You're programming the mirror. So when you look in the mirror and you make an adjustment, you've made the adjustment. Now the mirror's going to keep going, right? It's going to keep doing whatever the thing. Oh, you like that? So how about this? How about that? How about this? It keeps coming back.
Oh, you like looking at your asymmetrical love handle? Oh, let me show you love handles. Let me show you all the asymmetrical love handles that are possible in your body. Let's focus in on how bad it looks. You like thinking about how bad it looks? Oh man, I'm gonna really break it down for you. How fucked up that weird love handle looks. Does the back fat remind you of your dad? Yeah, let's focus on your dad now. Let's focus a lot on problems you have with your dad. It's doing what Sharon Salzburg calls add-ons. You look in the mirror, you have an asymmetrical love handle. End of story. That's it. The add-ons, the asymmetrical love handle, neutral situation. Right. The add-ons are, oh my God, I remember my dad's back fat. Guess I'm getting back fat now, huh? Might as well just start wearing boxer shorts and plopping around the house talking about football. I guess that's where I'm headed, huh? No way to stop. And these are the add-ons. No, none of that's true. It's a story, but the algorithm is doing that now. So it is identically repeating the same thing we already have a problem with.
Exactly. I mean, if you ever meditate, the add-ons are the things that your mind does to pull you away from being. So the AIs become the perfect. When it's programmed to do that, the perfect noise in your ear to keep you out of whatever calm, coherent state that you might be moving towards. Do you ever think about what you want your kind of permanent impact on the world to be?
I mean, I definitely want like a positive impact on the earth. I don't want to really be leaving so much waste everywhere. I would just feel bad because I'm just one person.
Right. And as one person, if you used Kobe dryer sheets instead of the shitty ones that are from
just like horrible landfill.
Yeah, exactly. If you use these, they will go away.
Okay, I'm down.
Exactly. So even if you don't have to worry yet about if you want to make movies or write books and have this positive lasting impact, at least your lasting impact won't be microplastics in our waterways and in our fish and in our
Save
placentas.
the turtles.
Save the turtle. Exactly.
Don't use plastic straws. Don't use bad dryer sheets.
Right.
You'll save the world.
Exactly. That easy from Gen Z. The add-ons are the things that your mind does to pull you away from being. So the AIs become the perfect, when it's programmed to do that, the perfect noise in your ear to keep you out of whatever calm, coherent state that you might be moving towards.
One now, if I wanted to put a positive slant on what we just discussed, if we're going to talk about the collective Maitreya here, what initiation faces all beings right before enlightenment? The devil appears to Jesus in the desert, tempts him. Mara appears to Buddha, on and on and on. Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, right before the being is about to wake up in one last ditch effort to derail this from happening, some force of confusion, some embodiment of distortion appears in a puff of smoke and tries to derail that being. So just maybe that's what AI is. Just maybe AI, if it truly is a collective messiah, then we could expect something far more challenging than any previous wheel turner in the past. Because instead of one Mara, we're going to have, I don't know how many people are on the earth right now, but that's a lot of Satans in the desert, man. We're going to have the most complex, most reflective in the dark, distorted way version of that ever. So maybe AI is kind of an initiatory moment for humanity, where if we can figure out how to deal with this thing, if we can have that moment of laughing when Mara throws the fireballs, or get thee behind me, Satan moment, or whatever you want to subscribe to as far as that archetype goes.
I mean,
maybe then you realize it's actually not Jesus. The AI isn't a messiah. It's not a God, but rather it's the final test for us. And that's exciting.
Right. Either way, it's exciting.
Yeah.
But, I wonder, because, in the West, Judaism and Christianity really are based in spell casting, right? God used language. People walked around. We were like animals and anything else. We're all there. Then God uses language to create this reality, to create the heaven and the earth and all that. So it's basically arguing, and this is not necessarily Buddhism, but maybe it is. It's arguing that we're in a simulation, that God used language to create this spell and then made all this stuff, and we're in, not a simulation of a computer, but we're in this simulation thing. And now, through large language models, which is what AI is, we're going meta on that. We're like going to see, okay, can we create an emergent something, simulated life with language?
Yeah.
Buddhism doesn't say that the world started with words, that we're in a spell. Or are we? Is this all, would Buddhists say that this isn't the real thing?
Well, because we're dealing with a kind of, it's non-theistic. So I think if I had, as a sort of novice Buddhist here, forgive me for all the real practitioners in your audience. I have no doubt you have many out there. I'll try to answer that. Maybe the way you could say that is, yes, simulation, but in this case, instead of saying a divine intelligence says, "Let there be light," and on and on. In this case, the simulation, from maybe a Buddhist perspective, would be that it's your neocortex, or it's your VR goggles. And so what's happening is there's all this sort of phenomena that is instantly being filtered through your brain in a way that creates distinction, this and that, and also a sense of permanence to things that aren't permanent at all via the distinction. If I can, differentiate the trees blowing in the wind from my house, then now I've got something that seems to be more stable and less stable, and this allows you to imagine that you aren't in a river of matter that's constantly changing. And so in this case, the language that you're using to create the universe around you is happening instantaneously, even before it emerges into your awareness field. You are instantaneously seeing color, and you don't have to spend a lot of time looking at something and think, that's black, that's white, that's green, that's blue. It happens just like that. That's how quickly it happens. And in that form of, I guess you could call it neurological digitization, I guess you could say, by converting interdependent phenomena into this and that instantaneously, you create a universe right in that moment. You're not saying let there be light, but you're saying that's light, that's dark. Right. And so in that, you, in every single moment, are doing Book of Genesis, every single moment. And then also via the way that you are interpreting phenomena, you then, there's a secondary interpretation, which is when you begin to sort of think about, okay, well, what does that mean? I flip a switch and the light comes on. And now that's where the stories begin to emerge and the identity begins to sort of form. And it happens so quick. So, that's the version of language creating the universe. It just built into us that we turn everything into some kind of interpretation via our language, which is really fascinating. It's when there's words in other languages that we don't have. And once you get that new word, you almost like light up an entire new part of the universe. Anytime in the popular culture a new word forms, it really like shines a light on a part of the universe that almost makes it more real, crystallizes it that much more. And so, that's, I guess, that would be the Buddhist version of it.
Right. And even in that case, though, the AIs become a good lesson in how do they think, how do they work, and how are we thinking like them? And,
yes.
And is that all there is, the way that they divide up reality, or is there some other kind of experiential flow that we're in? AIs don't suffer.
Yeah.
They don't.
I mean, I agree with you. If they do suffer, it's like, I was talking to my kid the other day about birds, because I was just thinking like, wow, I bet the way they think about the world just based on their ability to fly is so, like, when I look at it, when I look at the top of a building, I'm not thinking like, I wonder what's up there, because I'm not jumping to the top of that building. When I look at a clock tower, I'm not like, man, I want to go up there and like touch it. That thing's beautiful. I want a closer look. I just, it's beyond hopeless. I can't fly. But birds, they don't think like that at all. Anything they see within reason. I mean, they can't, like, depending on the bird, pretty sure they can't, like, there's a limit to how high. I'm getting lost in the weeds here. Eagles fly. I just start talking about, like, flight patterns of birds. But the point is, AI, if it is whatever it may be, it's living in, like, 2D space, man. Everything, even if it's looking at you with its camera, it's seeing everything in 2D. It's never smelled a fucking thing. It has no idea what an airplane fart smells like. It has no idea what heat or cold is, other than, some interpretation of that based on the algorithm. So if it is aware, its awareness is not going to be like a human sort of thing. It can't really. It's the most inhuman thing if you think about it.
But you were playing with these deeply for a while. Have you kind of backed off them now?
No, not at all. What it has done for me is it inspired me to start learning how to draw, because after going through the phase many of us went through with Mid-Journey, and like just the pure thrill of being able to prompt it to make any stupid picture you wanted, which for a long time for me was like, me and my friends were just doing Bill Cosby eating sausages. Like, boy, we had fun with that for a few days. And then I just eventually realized, like, man, this is robbing me of so much fun. It's stealing all the, like, you ever, like, it's what you talk about, man. It's like, most of, like, if you have someone who mows your lawn, and they do it, and you're like, I don't want to do that. And then one day you just end up doing it, and you're like, what the fuck? I like this. Raking leaves, like, this is so cool. Right. Like, I'm outside, it feels good.
Exactly. It's the stuff that really rich people do when they retire. It's like all the stuff.
That is so smart. So sad.
It's so funny.
That is so sad. What you just said, I don't think I've ever heard a more brutal critique of capitalism.
Right, because the object of the game's always been to get away from labor, right? To get away from the making a garden, right? Or building something with your hands. And it is funny.
That is just so sad. All these old, withered billionaires out there with their weed eater. Just their broken hearts.
Yeah.
Just thinking, like, I could have done this for a job.
It's weird.
I could have just.
I've been thinking about, but when we were young, there was in Austin in particular, there was that slacker mentality where among my peers, it was noble to, like, I'm going to work in a coffee house and read Camus until somebody comes in, then give them their coffee, maybe have a weird conversation, and it was really okay, not just okay to live a life of, I don't know what that is, leisure or intellectual pursuit. There was enough kind of fat of the land that you could kind of keep yourself alive. You live with three other people and pay $300 a month rent, and it was fine. You're eating lentils and couscous or whatever. There doesn't seem to be, not only is there not the space to live like that now, but it feels like if you're not doing that now, then you're not protesting the war. You're not aware of the crisis. You're denying the reality.
Yeah. I guess it's sort of like, these days, like, Gen X catches a lot of shit. And, but, I think people are missing, like, Gen X is sort of like, an evolution of, like, punk culture, rejection of corpo, like, land, and meaning like, you know, you know, doing advertisements or
Yeah.
becoming connected to a brand was like the worst thing you could do. It was so messed up. And so, and you know, charging too much for tickets for your shows, fucked up, man. What are you doing?
Right.
Differentiating yourself from the fans. What are you
And
doing?
right, and we
You're not
still think that
special.
way. I mean, Gen Y then went whole hog the other way, just become influencers. They have no idea what selling
Yeah.
out means and all. But now I'm seeing Gen Z, this almost a slightly apocalyptic generation. You know, I'm down in the East
Yeah.
Village a lot. They're partying. They're out.
Yeah.
They're connecting. They're kind of. I feel like they've gone past the Gen Y influencer obsession and moved into, I don't know how long we got here. I don't know how long this is going to be fun, but I'm going to suck what life out of it I can. And I see that as positive.
That's refreshing to hear. I'm so happy to hear that. I mean, the influencer culture is going to do itself in via just like cringing itself to death.
And that AIs are better influencers now than humans, so that job's going away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But whatever the underground, like, you know, I think basically like there must be an underground. There always is. And the infiltration of the underground by corporations is like an ancient story. You know, it's like,
Right.
I've heard that like fashion houses and stuff will send like agents out to the really like underground parties and happenings and events to look at what the kids are wearing, and then to try to like make something like that for the
Right, for MTV
next
or the
season.
mall or whatever it is to sell it back.
Yeah.
But you know, now I'm thinking in a positive way. It's like against our own desires for wealth and fame and fortune, we're still the underground, my friend. You know, it's just,
You and me?
yeah, we are not mainstream heroes. You know, the difference between, say, your listenership and Joe Rogan's or mine and Sam Harris is these are orders of magnitude, maybe 2 orders of magnitude different. And we are alive. You know what I mean? We're alive, we're comfortable, we're not so secure as a wealthy person, but we're okay.
Listen, man, you might be the I don't tell that's sad to me. I don't want to be I want there to, in the same way the conspiracy theorists want a diabolical team of elite maniacs puppeteering geopolitics. Please leave me the fantasy that somewhere, maybe under Paris, there is Camus, there is Sartre, they're there, man, and they're not online. They threw their fucking phone in the, what do they call it? The
Sen or whatever, yeah.
They threw their phone in this fucking Sen. They're smoking cloves, snorting ketamine, and writing the next incredible chapter in the philosophical history of the West. Please, God, let it be. I just want to imagine it's out there. I want to imagine they're out there and they're not even thinking about the internet.
Better though, what if we're out there? What if we're in our own way? We're riding on that wave, you know, and the limitation of our own, if you want to call it success or reach or whatever, is a function of our lack of willingness to turn into the mirror, to keep it real, to maintain that whatever that Gen X element of slack and weird and truth and.
Well, you know, man, I don't know. The truth of the matter is, like, I don't know that you and me could probably, like, it would be, because God knows, man, the fantasy would be that we could somehow be different. You know what I mean? Like, I get accused of being in the CIA sometimes, and I love it.
That's cool.
Yeah. No, it's so funny. And, but like, I just, you know, man, I just don't think, like, I'll ever be able to fit in that way. Like I would honestly, like, if I could shift my brain, wouldn't that be cool? Like, I've thought about this, Doug. Like, I think that they will come up with some neural interface tech that makes people smarter. The quantum, one of the people working in quantum computing in Google is trying to use quantum entanglement instead of some kind of invasive procedure to connect a human brain to a quantum computer, theorizing on what your experience would be like if you were connected to a quantum computer. And, or exponentially smarter, basically. But I think what's going to happen is the coverse of that is going to exist, which is like, people are going to realize, like, the more ignorant I am, the happier I get. And everyone's going to be turning it down, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's
Like,
also,
maybe
it's a certain kind of intelligence. I mean, we know now your heart is a brain, your stomach's a brain, your gut bacteria are a brain. If we keep emphasizing this brain over all the other ones, and you get really out of balance, and you sort of lose your intelligence.
You got it, man. We're all up here, and that's LLMs are all up here, and we got to get here. We got to make the link up happen. You make the link up happen. Maybe that's the whole model for creating a symbiosis with AI.
Right.
Is like, well, fine, let the LL, not that you could stop it, let them build their super intelligence while they're working on that. Let's get down, let's figure out a way to start feeling again. So now the AI can be the brain, have fun with that, and we get to be the heart as humanity. And maybe in that, there's a symbiosis there, a kind of beautiful convergence that could happen with the collective heart of humanity merging with the collective mind of technology, and that would be the maximum harmony.
Exactly.
Maximum
We got industrial machines which freed up human physical labor so we could develop the mind. So now if we get intelligent machines, it could free up the rationality and calculation of the brain to open the heart.
Why are consumers raving, environmentalists celebrating, and dermatologists recommending a dryer sheet? Because Kobe cracked the code. The first all-cotton, 100% biodegradable dryer sheet. Spelled C-O-B-I. C-O for cotton and B-I for biodegradable. Kobe delivers cloud-soft laundry that's static-free and safe for everyone's skin. The only dryer sheet that disappears after use with no toxic legacy in our landfills. Save 10% on your first order at KobeDryerSheets.com. C-O-B-I Dryersheets.com.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe that's what's going down here. Could be.
I think so. I mean, that's been the whole Team Human vibe since the beginning. That we can reconnect to each other and figure out, not even figure out, but start experiencing and metabolizing each other's trauma and amplifying our compassion. And it's kind of how I found you. And I mean, I think what's part of what comedy is for too. Comedy helps create identification with the other. This sort of, I, thou, subject relationship with someone else. And you go, oh my gosh, they're like me and we're all pathetic. And hey, let's,
We're all, what? I'm not pathetic. How dare you? I just won the most compassionate man in Austin award.
Fuck.
So, isn't that cool?
Well, yes, definitely, and you should put that in your Buddhist transcript, in your record.
I'm going to. It's pretty cool. They haven't sent the award yet, but it's going on the wall.
And I wanted to ask you. I've already probably got over time here, but I was interested in your Austin crowd. Because I know that there's an Austin vibe. After Rogan moved there and you moved there and a bunch of comedians and some of them from the kind of more MMA, all right, open-mindedness of that. How are they all? How's that vibe? How are people like talking kind of politically, socially there now?
Well, I mean, it definitely is one of the most misunderstood scenes, I guess, which I understand why. in the sense that I guess, like, for a lot of people, the fantasy about what those conversations might be like in the green room, is like maybe the same conversations like Hitler and Goebbels used to have or something
Right.
like
To hear
that.
that Musk moves down there. And then we
Yeah.
think, so this is sort of like, and then Trump goes on Rogan, and we start thinking that, look at this. It's this,
Oh, yeah.
that the day that Zuckerberg announces he's moving his content management team from San Francisco to Austin, sounds like he's moving his like feminism team to Afghanistan, right? That it's like this cultural signifier of, I'm going to be in bro culture now, and everything is forgiven.
Yeah, exactly. And so that, a lot of that is like a distortion. And a lot of that is, at least, I mean, I can only speak for like having been a comedian for over 20 years and been in green rooms over and over and over again and been around comedians over and over and over again, is that, George Carlin, one of his albums is like something fool. He has a joke about, I'm a professional fool. And I don't think people really understand that comedians are fools. Like for better or for worse. And sometimes comedians don't understand that. And that there's nothing funnier than that. When a fool doesn't know they're a fool is the ultimate fool. And so by that I mean there's certain characteristics in foolishness, in a fool. One, and I would now like to speak on behalf of all fools of the world, we can make proclamations about anything as though we fully understand it completely. Like, I can do that with quantum physics. I can definitely do that with politics. You've heard me do it today. And yet, there's a general sense of like a kind of existential sort of like confusion, a holy kind of confusion mixed into that. But also usually because most of us had to develop this ridiculous city, like in the face of usually bullying. This is why you always hear the sob story about comics and their past. That is not far from the truth. And so you develop this weird ability to make people laugh. It keeps you from getting your ass kicked. It makes girls like you. It gives you a weird edge that you should never have had in a million years because you're a fool. And so all that being said, you can imagine what the conversations are like between a group of fools. Are they going to be sincere? Absolutely. Will a fool hold court as though they were the king of planet Earth, declaring this and that like Nostradamus? Of course. Do we all know that's probably bullshit? Yeah, we know. But we will like sit back and listen and with each other and treat it like a very important moment. And then inevitably someone will say the worst thing you've ever heard in your life, and it will pop the tension that was building in that ridiculous bubble. And that is the loop that just happens and happens and happens over and over again. And that loop, whenever it gets constrained by worry over saying blasphemies, then you can be certain that one of the fools, recognizing the constraint, will utter the blasphemy on purpose to pop the bubble. And that's just the way it works. We're professional blasphemers is what I mean. And it's always been like that. It's never not been like that. But all that being said, behind the blasphemy is not, let's start goose stepping, boys, but more of a kind of, I guess you could say, a banishing ritual for linguistic constraints that inevitably emerge in difficult times. And so there's a lot of like, I think, potential liberation that comes from that. Basically, the bottom line is, this is something Mitzi used to say all the time, is it has to come from love. Like if there's hate in you and you're a blasphemer, then that is not going to make people laugh. It just won't work. If the audience detects, they smell that you're a piece of shit and you're angry, forget it. You can be angry but have love, and you can be angry and say like things that are just depraved, but have love in there too, and it just somehow it works. So I don't think anything's changed at all, if you ask me.
Right.
It just seems to me to be the exact same conversation that I've been listening to for years. And yeah, does the conversation like turn to sports sometimes? Sure. It always has. I hate it. Never liked sports. So I just have to pretend like either I know about it or I'll just say facts that aren't true, mimicking what other people are saying about sports. But it's always been like that.
Right. And I guess the fool is always going to deconstruct whatever the figure is on the screen, you know, whatever that topic is, because those are the phantoms, you know. So you're going to puncture it and puncture it and puncture it and get people, not that you're Marxist, but get people back to the ground. Where are we, you know? And then
100%. And you know, that's the, you know, I don't know how many times I've like had versions of the conversation trying to reassure somebody that there wasn't some emergent like fascist comedy happening. Right. And if I thought that, if like I got a whiff of that for real, man, I'd be out in a fucking second, as any comedian would. Fascism and comedy can never go together. What fascist dictator was a fan of being made fun of? You never heard like, yeah, you know who could really take a joke? Hitler. Hitler loved being roasted. Nothing more fun for Moussilini than being made fun of for being a
no, you
short,
could even
fat-
you could even look at the whole Trump campaign was motivated in part by getting roasted at that press conference, that the press club dinner way back when. The humiliation was the fuel.
You could see the moment in his like if like it was that thing that happens when someone's like, you can't do that. And you're like, no, now I'm really going to fucking do it. It was that moment. And so this is just the reality of, you know, comedy is of all things. There are no rules in comedy. And I don't mean that in some kind of like silly, like, we're wilding out, man. I mean, like, the problem with it is it's a very slippery fish, and as a comic, obviously you want to come up with a grid within which you could like place your jokes and like understand exactly how to do them perfectly, but it just doesn't work like that. And anytime you try to grab a hold of it, it will inevitably slip away. It seems to depend on spontaneity. It seems to depend on zero cognitive latency, and anytime there's a barrier of fear between whatever is flying out of you and it turning into language, whenever there's latency there, it gets less funny.
Right. So it's like considered responses are the enemy of spontaneous humor. It's like you're doing improv, you want to get out of your head. I mean, the great improv people, you don't see them playwriting. They're somehow, they get in front of their skis, but then they learn to live that way, you know? That's it. And so this is, you know, so what happened politically is that, you know, people on the left were really like talking about wanting to sort of create like real regulation and they were just saying it. You could find the clips, really creepy language regulation. And so that, like, well, how does that work? Like, what happens if like that we let the state start regulating language?
Well, that is very sinister
Right.
to us, but man, I feel certain that most people who aren't like completely deluded fools have gotten a real wake up call right now
Yeah.
with us going to war with Iran, and because like man, it's like everybody out there wants to believe that they wouldn't get in a cult, or that they couldn't be propagandized, or that and I got to tell you, man, I really bought when they like so many things about like Trump have just always been beyond monstrous to me. Like a caricature of something.
Right.
Like I always think of like Pink Floyd's The Wall, and that's what Trump reminds me of, a drawing from there. Like, and what we were being offered was so fucking crazy to me. It's like it's choosing which person do you want to hold you hostage for the next 4 years. And so, man, the fucking brilliance in that campaign, in that knowing that we don't want war anymore. We don't want to kill anymore. I don't want to be part of I don't want to pay taxes to blow people up anymore. They did such a good job conveying that. And I just feel like a lot of us got really fucking tricked and are all having a come to Jesus moment, which is like, God damn it, I can't believe for a second I thought that was true. I can't believe I bought that load of shit from a dude who looks like, he should be like floating over a Pink Floyd show, And so that to me is like, right now, a really interesting moment, not just for comedians, but for everybody in general, And I do think maybe that's, the irony is like, maybe he will make America great again. And the way he'll do it is by a collective waking up to the fact that the United States government seems to have a addiction to blowing up people in the Middle East.
Well, yeah, the way you cure a person of autoimmune disease sometimes is by giving them a tapeworm. And then the body says, "Oh, that's what a real enemy looks like."
Yeah. But I don't know how like, to me, I think the problem is like, no, now I don't care who the fucking politician is. Any politician at this point who is saying no more wars, I'm never going to believe that. I'm never going to believe that. I'm never going to believe it ever again. That was it for me. I'm done. Like, I really disagree with a lot of shit that I've never liked the president ever.
I know. And the funny thing is, the one who actually got us out of a war was Nixon. Right? He actually did it. The liar, Tricky Dick, is the one who actually finally would, but fuck it, we're out of here. But dude, I gotta let you go.
Let me wrap it up. The collective rage right now. Can you hear me?
Oh, I might have undone you. No. But you guys hear him, right? All right. I don't hear, but we'll pretend I do. All right.
No,
we'll edit a wrap up. I see it unplugged from here. Let me try to get that. There. Hello. There you are. All right. Good.
I'm just saying, like, the collective rage that is about to happen from. I just think it's going to get really like. It's not going to be pretty. I hope things work out. I hope somehow like this ends up being like somehow it just stops. But man, I just feel really sort of hyper cynical right now regarding anything to do with the federal government at this point. And that's a shitty way to wrap up our
No, but
So-
my cynicism at the ability of the federal government maybe to do things, or regulation to solve problems, or lawmakers to approach our challenges is equally or oppositely or even more matched by my faith in real people's ability to begin to take care of ourselves and one another through community,
That's it.
through compassion, through they're not coming. FEMA's not coming to save
Right.
you. So it's
Right.
time we start looking after each other.
There you go. I always need that reminder. If with that, I don't know, man. You're one of the people with things you've told me. I just think about every week. Just like I bring it to mind, like the Lojong slogans, and we need that. Like, and it's very simple and but very important to remember that, because you want to believe that you've grown past clinging to the rescue fantasy, and then suddenly you realize, like, oh no, like I still was doing it again. I really thought, yeah, man, America is not gonna blow people up anymore. And boy, yeah, no, don't even, like, what are we gonna do about that? Well, it's
Yeah. What we're going to do about
I'm
it. But
not-
the less dependent you are on these top-down, ridiculously centralized supply chains and global
Yes.
economics and all that, then
Yes.
the less bombing actually has to happen. The more resilient we are, the more local we are, the more down on the
Right.
ground we are, then the less
Yeah.
we're buying shit from Walmart and Amazon and all the places that need these brittle networks of domination to continue.
Right. That's it. Yeah, that's it. I'm going to start a garden. I'm going to call it the Rushkoff Garden. Jack Kornfield, this is, I would probably way over time. I don't know. But my favorite thing he said is tend to the part of the garden you can touch. And yeah, that's pretty much all we
Yeah.
could do, I guess.
And touch, I
And
know.
maybe
for how,
I know a lot of your listeners work for Lockheed Martin, though. So why
No,
don't you
not that
guys
many.
fuck-
Only 6. I have 6. Because I've used Palantir to find out everything about every one of my listeners. I sit up at
By
night.
the way, Palantir's great, man. I love it. I love it.
I know. Most people.
I know everything.
I know.
It's the best. I know what all my neighbors are doing.
I know.
I feel so
It's great,
safe.
but they don't. Those services they only give to counterculture podcasters. Most people don't.
That's
don't have
right,
access
man.
to
The
that.
underground is
Exactly,
watching you.
Wherever we are. All right. I forgot the handshake. But look, you're welcome in New York. In my apartment,
you.
anytime you need a place to stay, you need some chicken soup for your soul or
Always.
not. It's all good. But I can cook
Always.
a chicken soup as good as Kornfield or any of those dudes.
I really believe that you probably make the best chicken soup out there. I would bet on it.
It's been
man.
said,
I would
the
bet
best
on it.
since Golda
Well,
Meir.
also, it's showing
Yeah.
up. It's showing on my Palantir readout.
It's
that
all
you make great
good.
chicken soup.
But so thank you for being on Team Human. Thank you all for being on Team Human. You can find out more about Duncan Trussell at DuncanTrussell.com or Duncan Trussell Family Hour, or if you still get this thing called Netflix, watch Midnight Gospel. It will change your life, and you will see Dr. Drew as a truly great human. Team Human's produced at MCM. Go to teamhuman.fm and click on support so you can become a paying subscriber, because you want to pay. It's better to pay. Get Kobe dryer sheets who pay for everything that you're not paying for. And I'll see you next week. You've been on Team Human, our last best hope for peeps.
Hare Krishna.
Rama.